What's up guys, Fahan here. Welcome back to another ultimate review. This is the review of the first generation Kawasaki Versys 1000. Huge thanks to Vroom Leasing for loaning me this bike for the review. What is up guys, Fahan here with Zah once again.
Singapore's biggest motorcycle-only event is back for 2022, featuring Singapore's largest motorcycle sale with over 40 models of bikes on sale and on display.
Amazing deals and offers on bikes, accessories, bike-related services. Watch our most skilled local riders at the exciting Gymkhana challenge.
And on top of that, spend $50 and you'll stand a chance to be in the hourly lucky draw. Lots of prizes to be given away, including karting vouchers, lubricants, cap, jackets, helmets and shirts from famous motorcycling brands.
For the third lucky draw prize, we have the Looking Dash Cam from Isaro Motoring.
For second prize, there's the Kado Pack Talk Duo from CHONG International.
And the grand prize, a Zontes GK 200 motorcycle from CHONG Agency.
So, we hope to see you guys at the National Bikers Weekend held at the Marquee Downtown East from the 4th to 6th of November, and we'll see you there.
Alright guys, so this is the ultimate review of the Kawasaki Versys 1000. You can rent this bike and a whole range of bikes from Vroom Leasing, from the Yamaha R15M, there's the KTM Super Duke, Honda CBR 400RR, even the legendary Yamaha RXZ, among others. And also recently they've expanded their services to include towing, scrap and also export lah. So do check out their social media links and contacts below lah. Alright, so the Kawasaki Versys 1000. I have to admit, this is actually the first time I am seeing this bike. Usually I'm well versed with the Kawasaki Versys 300, which is the class 2A cousin of this bike. I have to admit that it looks pretty ugly at first. But I mean, it's a sign of the times. I mean, in the early 2010s, they weren't really concerned about design. It's more to a practical kind of thing lah. Okay, so let's get on the bike 239 kg, kind of heavy, but when I'm riding this around, still okay lah, no issue with it. Okay, so ride height of 84.5 cm, tiptoeing considerably I would say, but I think it's still manageable. I think vertically challenged riders may have an issue, but it's something you need to get used to lah. And also it comes with a 21 litre fuel tank with a projected range of 300 kilometers per litre. However, reviewers online have actually stated that if you were to whack this bike, the range may vary lah. So it's a gas guzzler, you know, I mean, the engine is the same engine as the Z1000, so with the power it gives out, it's gonna guzzle up more fuel lah. It uses a inline 4 engine, which I would think that it would guzzle up a lot of fuel lah. Okay, so starting up, pretty straightforward. Uses a key. So the key, you put in the ignition, you push it up, then you twist the ignition, press the starter. Sounds pretty sick, man. Sounds pretty sick. Right. And I have to say, while riding it around, you can feel its weight. It's really no joke. So once again, something you need to get used to and adapted lah. But other than that, I feel that the handling is pretty okay. I mean, given its long travel suspension, definitely the handling has been improved for the Versys 1000. And I have to say that the low to mid-range torque is pretty good. The engine is shared with the Z1000, so don't ever underestimate this bike. Even though it's built as an adventure bike, which is not supposed to be performance oriented, but yet the Versys 1000 has the performance for you to get away when you need to lah. And there's also traction control and riding modes on it. Currently it's in the riding modes is a power mode lah, I would say. Power mode is in the low setting, and there's also another one which is full. So currently it's the low setting lah, which is supposedly street friendly lah, I would say. Maybe on the highway we can try the full mode. And also 3 levels of traction control, which is adjustable. So you press the select button and then you toggle around. You can even turn off the traction control also. I like the view of the cockpit. Really, this combination of analog and LCD The tachometer is analog, of course, which is what most of the manufacturers were going for these days. I think this is a time whereby they were transitioning to a full LCD display, but they want to retain that analog feature lah. I mean, riders at that time, I guess, were still trying to adapt to the LCD display, so that's why I think they retain the tachometer to be analog. But I think it's a pretty nice design. We don't see much of this nowadays, and in fact we are transitioning right now to a full-on TFT display, in which is like there's a mini cell phone on your motorbike lah. Shouldn't be too overpowering. I think it handles perfectly. It's a very nimble and agile bike. Leans in corners wherever you point the bike to. The low to mid-range torque on this, pretty good, huh? And also ABS is standard on the Versys 1000 with the brake calipers, some sort of special brake calipers that Kawasaki has touted on their website or on reviews online. I think that was a feature for the time, a notable feature for the time. And personally, I'm glad that we got a chance to test out these old bikes because Singapore, with its strict vehicle control laws, these bikes aren't going to be on the road forever, and you will probably see them gone after 10 or 20, 30 years, which is a pretty sad thought, you know, when you think about it.
First manufactured in 2012, the Kawasaki Versys 1000 is an adventure bike based on the 1000Z Street Fighter. Packed with the electronics and features advanced for its time, the Versys sets out to be a cutting-edge machine with Kawasaki's unique engineering approach. The first generation ended production in 2015, with an overhaul in appearance for the second generation Versys 1000. Engine is a 1043cc liquid-cooled transverse 4-cylinder DOHC, 4 valves per cylinder, with fuel injection and a 6-speed manual transmission.
Right guys, so take note, there's 3 generations of Kawasaki Versys 1000. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the first generation, which was manufactured from 2012 to 2015. The second gen, which has an updated design, was manufactured from 2016 to 2018. Currently, we have the third generation, which was updated for 2019. So for the chassis and the engine is shared with the Kawasaki Z1000 Sports Tourer, and the Versys series has always been a touring class of bike lah. It's mostly used for road conditions with some light off-roading capability lah. Right guys, so sitting on the bike right now, I'm 165 and with a ride height of 84.5 cm, as you can see, tiptoeing considerably. But I think it's okay, still manageable for me, but I think vertically challenged riders may have an issue lah. Besides, its weight of 239 kg, it's quite heavy lah, and you can feel the weight as you're riding this bike. But for me, I think I adapted to it pretty quickly and no issues for me lah. Okay, so riding posture, as you can see, is this tall, upright sitting position with a nice commanding view of the road in front of you. The cockpit view is really something that I love on this bike. And of course, if a riding position as comfortable as this, you're not gonna get any back aches, shoulder aches, body aches whatsoever, like even butt aches also. It's a very comfortable ride. Okay, so let's talk about the general design of the Kawasaki Versys 1000. And given the time of its launch, it looks very much like a typical adventure bike of the early 2000s. Looks weird and ugly in my personal opinion. And I do feel that it's like a cross between a V-Strom and a BMW F-Series GS. But this is a time where design and outlook is less of a concern, with practicality and versatility as the main priority. And thank God, the second and third generations, the styling has been improved significantly. I'm glad they didn't stuck with the design of the first gen. The front end is directly adapted from the earlier first gen Versys 650, which came a few years before the Versys 1000. Up next, we'll come to the handlebar control. So as you can see, this bike is fitted with some riding tech, which I feel that is pretty advanced for its time. Okay, so to the left over here, we got a high beam, low beam, signal indicators, passing light, horn, and also hazards. And over here, you can see the select and up-down button. So this is to control the power mode and the traction control toggle. So which Kawasaki calls the KTCS, Kawasaki Traction Control System. But it's basically traction control. It's interesting to note that when the first year of this bike came out, it doesn't have these features, the power mode and the traction control. But I think sometime the second or third year of these bikes, they fitted in the traction control and power mode.
So to the right over here is pretty simple actually. Starter and the engine kill switch lah. And we've come to the gauge cluster, which is a combination of analog and LCD. As you can see, this is very much 2010s era, early 2000s kind of design. And it's a time whereby they are transitioning to a full-on LCD display, I feel. And they still keep the tachometer as the analog feature, followed by the LCD display, which has the fuel indicator, the time, the speedometer, tells you the temperature of the bike, and also you can toggle. Okay, so if you toggle, the clock changes to odometer, trip A, trip B, and I think this should be the average fuel consumption, the range that's available on the bike left, and you're back to the clock lah. And the button below displays the temperature, and you can toggle between the engine temperature, which is currently 94 degrees Celsius right now, and outside temperature, which is 38 degrees Celsius lah. And also, yeah, the power mode once again. So to adjust, you press the select button. So when it blinks, currently is blinking at the power mode. So to adjust, you simply press up and down, and you can see the L on the power mode starts to blink. So to adjust, just simply press up and down, and you can toggle between full and low. So low is the street, I feel is the street mode, and the full is the power mode for the highway lah, basically. It gets kind of twitchy in full mode, I must say. And when you press the select button once again, you can adjust the traction control. So currently it's on level 3, level 2, level 1, and off. So to toggle, you just press the up and down buttons. I think it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple if you ask me. And to finish off, the gauge cluster above the LCD display is a cluster of warning lights. So let's talk about the riding tech that comes with the Versys 1000. Okay, so for its time, I have to say that there's a lot of riding tech on it. But I think in today's era, it may seem outdated because I think even Class 2B bikes, feature bikes, they feature this kind of riding features already. Right, so to list a couple of few, as you can see, it comes with inverted forks. They are fully adjustable. A rare sight back in the day. So rear suspension has a remote preload adjustment also. ABS is standard with racing discs adapted directly from the Z1000. Once again, adjustable 3-way traction control can be changed on the move when the throttle is turned off, and the windscreen is also manually adjustable. Right guys, so the Versys comes in two colors. So this is the magnesium metallic grey. The other color is the pearl stardust white lah. Surprisingly, it's not available in Kawasaki green, which I'm pretty surprised as is their signature color. But it would be nice that there is Kawasaki green lah. I think for the later generations, there is the Kawasaki green and orange. So finally, we've come to the price, and we have not contacted the official dealer or any bike shops on the price. For Carousel, a used 2013 model, which is similar to this, COE expired 2024, 6,500. We got a used second generation model for 21,000, and also a used 2018 model for 24,000. So with the features and with the power that it gives out, I think it's quite reasonable if you ask me.
I have to say, handling is damn good on this. I mean, you're taking in the corners, it's really effortlessly, you know. You don't need to like use your buttocks or your body to really lean. It just moves when you turn the bike slowly. You gotta give it to the Versys 1000. The handling on this is really tip-top. I think if you are in a back country road, fast sweeping corners, you know, and you're gonna enjoy the time of your life with the Versys 1000. So my personal opinion, city riding, stop traffic, no issue. Although I can feel my shins getting a bit hot right now. And speaking of the engine being hot, right, can really feel the smoothness of the engine. I think this is due to the inline 4. The more cylinders it has, the more smooth lah the engine is gonna feel, I feel. So the vibration isn't really that bad on this bike, and when you move off, you accelerate, definitely it's gonna provide that smooth ride lah when you're accelerating. Doesn't feel as if the bike is like struggling to move off, you know. But one pet peeve that I have on this bike is that it doesn't come with a gear indicator. But I think that is just a small pet peeve. Like usually you want to know whether a bike is in neutral or not, so there's a small neutral light among the cluster of warning lights on the gauge cluster. Woo! I have to say that the previous owner really took good care of the bike. The engine is smooth, I think not too much accessories on this bike. I think the exhaust is aftermarket. I'm not sure that it really makes a difference here in Singapore, like, given that our modification laws are quite strict here. So you really cannot do wonders with your bike unless approved by LTA, of course. Right, so let's enter the highway where this bike should belong, you know. I mean, it's a touring bike. It's meant to take the long distances and high speeds, so let's do it. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Man, I love the low to mid-range torque. Wow, and like I said, it provides a nice smooth ride that you don't feel that you're going that fast, but definitely you're going fast. I mean, you look there, the speedometer is already like, wow, 80, 90. Okay, so let's change the riding modes. So it's now in full. Oh man, I can feel the bike getting more twitchy in full mode. Full power, baby. Oh my god, you can really feel the bike like getting more twitchy. It's accelerating even faster, and I presume that it should consume much more fuel. Oh my gosh. No, so don't ever underestimate these old bikes. These old bikes. So don't ever underestimate these old bikes. These old bikes, even though they are kind of outdated, it still has the relevant performance. Or leaning into the corner even more, you know. Damn. Lens fitting, no issue, I reckon. I mean, I did lane split with this bike a couple of times. You can gauge with the handlebars, tight spaces, no issue, I think. Gotta be careful when, you know, you have side panniers though. Especially when you want to cross the causeway, make sure to take the right lane. I think highway riding, no problem. The windshield, even though it looks low, it actually cuts through the wind pretty well. And it's manually adjustable, so you can adjust your height accordingly. So if you're going at a higher speed or faster speed, you can adjust the windshield to make it more so-called aerodynamic. So the wind doesn't really affect me that much right now. And with a nice wide handlebar and upright riding posture, provides a nice, comfortable sitting position. The riding ergonomics on the Versys 1000 is very comfortable. So riding this bike for quite a while now. Not really suffering from any back aches or shoulder aches or head aches, you know. No, it's a touring bike. I wish that it had come with cruise control, you know. Maybe at that time it wasn't that popular, and to keep the prices down, Kawasaki simply didn't add the feature, I would reckon. Okay guys, so that's it for my riding review of the first generation Kawasaki Versys 1000. And yeah, we will see you in a bit. Oh my gosh, my Insta360 is foggy. I don't know if you guys can see it, right?
Right guys, so I had a couple of hours with the Kawasaki Versys 1000 first generation. Huge thanks to Room Leasing for loaning me this bike for the review. And personally, I feel that it's a nice, comfortable ride. The riding posture, the riding ergonomics is really awesome on this. Riding it for a few hours, no back aches on my body whatsoever. It's even more comfortable than my NC. Though I feel that it's kind of heavy when you're riding it. You can feel the weight as you are negotiating the bends or road. Other than that, it's pretty okay. And the riding comfort is something that you'd want when you're going long distance with it, which is really in the pedigree of the Versys 1000 and the Versys series of bikes. Engine is smooth, thanks to its 4-cylinder engine. The low to mid-range torque is damn good on the Versys. Performance-wise, I feel that it has a sports bike-like performance on a touring bike, I must say. But of course, with the performance, it's definitely gonna guzzle up a lot of fuel if you whack the bike often. But if you are riding it slow, you know, at 90, 100, I think the fuel consumption is pretty okay. And yeah, as I'm riding it for a few hours, only like 1 bar gone only. The range, according to the specs, is pretty good. I mean, 300 kilometers for a full tank, you know, of 21 liters. Yeah, I think pretty good, pretty standard for a class 2, I feel. Given the Versys 1000 high travel suspension, I feel that it absorbs the road bumps and minor imperfections pretty well. So it really provides a nice, comfortable ride, even though the road is bumpy lah. But the clutch, however, is kind of heavy, and if you're holding onto the clutch, often your hand is gonna get strained lah. But it's easy to change the gears and also put it in neutral, unlike some of the bigger bikes out there. I think overall I have a positive experience with the Versys 1000. Even though it's an old bike, even though it looks pretty weird, it's a Kawasaki, known for its bulletproof engine and the kind of bikes that they have released over the years. I think it's a awesome all-rounder, like we feel. But take note that this is not meant to do heavy off-roading, though it looks like it can do some off-road, but it's more of a light off-roader with gravel and sand. It's not meant for you to really whack this bike on really rough terrain. And of course, I'm glad we had a chance to do this review of an old bike. Once again, I do feel that with the strict vehicle control laws here in Singapore, the Versys 1000 first gen is not going to be staying on the road much longer lah. And of course, being an old and rare bike, the issue is that the maintenance and upkeep to such a bike, especially a Kawasaki, which is quite rare here in Singapore, and also ultra rare for the Versys 1000. This is the first time I'm seeing it actually, and first time riding it. Unfortunately, is the maintenance and upkeep of such a bike, which is why you can now rent the Versys 1000 first generation from Vroom Racing. This is probably the best chance for you to have a taste of European touring flavour for a day or two. And also, not only that, there's a whole range of bikes available for you to try, from the YAMAHA R15M, KTM Super Duke 1290, CBR 400RR, and even the legendary Yamaha RXZ, among others. They've also expanded their services to include towing, scrap, and export services. So thank you, Vroom Racing, once again for loaning me this bike for the review. And yeah, that's it for the vlog, and we will see you guys in the next one.